Hey, it's spring, it's time for planting perennials. I am a big believer in planting along the margins, one of the permaculture principles, and I'm taking inspiration from Les Femmes du Bec à la Vigne, who are located in France and use every square inch of their property for growing food. So let me show you what I'm planting here. On the top edge of this property, I have some apple trees, and while they are growing, they're not necessarily thriving, and I think that has a lot to do with the amount of wind that comes from this side of the hill. That's my neighbor's property where that shrub is. This top portion of my pasture and property is home to a few peach trees and apple trees. You can also see the perimeter fence of one of the pastures where the ducks currently reside. So I need to create a windbreak for these apple trees and the birds. And so on this side, I want to plant some serviceberries, and on the other side, I'm thinking honeyberries. And then you'll be able to walk right in between and harvest everything that you need. So here I bought a few thicket serviceberry. It's going to give me a nice dense hedge. And then I have two types of honeyberries for cross-pollination to increase my yields. This area is outside of the reach of my livestock guardian dogs, and there's lots of gopher and deer. So I just want to measure the size of the hole. We're going to do some crop caging. Well, I had plans to give you a play-by-play of everything that I was planting, and then I ended up with a tooth abscess and I had to have it pulled. It was a big deal, got into my lymph nodes, and then what ended up happening is I had to plant these things with a swollen face, and I couldn't talk about it and narrate at the same time. So now that that's behind me, let me show you what I've done. We did have a slight change of plans. Originally, I talked about alley cropping, meaning I wanted to put my honeyberries on one side, have a mowed path in between, and then do the serviceberries on the other. But my husband pointed out that, hey, if you put the honeyberries up against the fence, chances are it's going to interfere with our solar electric fencing, and it won't be able to provide a strong current because it'll be grounded out by the honeyberries. So I had to move them closer to the serviceberries, meaning now we just basically have a double hedge or a double windbreak. Still totally functional, still works. It's just not quite what I envisioned initially, but we adapt, right? Everything is planted. Okay, let's have a look. We have 4 serviceberries. I planted these about 8 feet apart so that eventually they will grow together as a thick hedge. It'll take a while, but you would want to plant them farther apart if you're looking for more individualized trees. The other thing that I did is we do have a gopher population back here since it's the top edge of the property. And so what I did is gopher caging around the actual sapling itself. And then I mulched, and then I put a deer cage around here also. So there are some barriers here that we have to employ since my guardian dog can't get past this fence. So there's that. They will provide the much needed windbreak to the apple trees that are here, because again, the wind is coming from this direction. Now, if we go over here, again, I planted these a little closer together. These are the honeyberries. They are in a gopher cage with a crop cage around them while they're young yet, and then eventually we'll do a deer cage until they get well established. And they're planted more closely together because, again, we want to create more of a hedge type situation. So there's probably about 6 feet between where I planted the serviceberries and where I planted the honeyberries. So they are going to be close together eventually someday. But you know what? I'll take it. It's a lot better than the nothing that I have here. About 10 to 12 birdhouses that are coming. They'll go up on every single post. Those are massively helpful when it comes to keeping insects that infect the apple trees and the other fruiting trees on the property in check. So we want to not only hang birdhouses from the trees this time of year, we also want to put houses up on fence posts. So maybe this gave you some ideas for alley cropping or creating a windbreak. Super awesome. I think that you can use edible plants to help create a more comfortable environment for our birds when they're in the pasture, and also just to create a nice hedge or privacy barrier along the top portion of the property. Thanks for watching.